Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live, we're in the studio, so get involved in all the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. We've got transfer rumours, reports, stories, as you would expect. United being linked with a few players. It looks like some are edging towards sort of happening or likely. Others a little bit more unlikely. We're going to get into all that. We're going to discuss what's being said, what's being reported, plus big injury updates as well. We're going to have that. Don't forget as well, we should be hearing a thing from the manager later on today. So we'll be sort of looking ahead towards the game at the weekend too. Get involved and make sure, if you've not done so already, you are subscribing to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers. We're almost there, man. It'd be great if we could get to 800,000 subscribers by the end of the season. And with your support, yes, we can get there. Loads of people in the chat already. Good to see the usual suspects. Also, Rami Helmate says, "Good morning, Jay. How does it feel to be a leading force in journalism and letting newbies like Fab build their career off your back?" Yes, we'll get into this straight away, right? So there's Fabrizio Romano, exclusive. Amad Diallo, I don't think he calls himself Amad Diallo anymore. I think it's just Amad, but, you know, whatever. Set to be back in training with Manchester United squad already next week. Despite initial expectations for season to be over after injury, he's recovered in record time. And so Amad will be available for training from next week. Now, anyone who watches Paddock Live on Wednesday will know that I had, excuse me, I'll turn that off. I had that exclusive, because I spoke to Amad at a coaching session with my kids on Wednesday and asked him, when are you going to be back? And he said, to quote, soon. So there you go, you see, Fabrizio Romano just riding my coattails. I mean, he could have at least credited me with that story, but it is what it is. I'll let him have it. He needs a bit of an helping hand, doesn't he? Great news that Amad is going to be back. We was at this coaching session the other day. He was running around. He was playing football with the kids. You could see, I know it's a lot different playing football with 8 and 9-year-olds than it is playing with the Manchester United first team, whatever, or training with the first team. But you could see he's obviously on his road to recovery. Otherwise, they wouldn't let him do that. So, good news all round. We have missed Amad. If we can get him back for the Europa League, that would be a massive boost. I don't think he might be available for the first leg. When he's at the first, that seems like a bit of a stretch. Can we get him back for that second leg when he's at the 8th? Is that too soon? I don't know. It'd be a massive, massive boost if we could, because we need him. And if not, if we get there, at least for the final as well. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Good to see so many people in the chat as well. Heaven Soul, Santa Notch, Chakoya Trot. Morning, Jay. Another exclusive from you today. You see, I'm getting the credit I deserve. Good to see. Oh, Wardy's there. I was there, Jay. Heard it live. Defo your scoop. Wardy was there as well. Yeah, this is what I mean. Yeah, I don't get the credit I deserve, but some people who are there know what I'm about or know what it was all about. I mean, look, Manchester United have struggled this season. We've struggled for goals. Amad came in. It was a breath of fresh air. Should have been playing far sooner, in my opinion. I don't know why tonight didn't give him more opportunities, but that's what it is. Ruud van Nistelrooy comes in, gives him a chance. Amad showed. I mean, he had played under Eric Ten Hag, to be fair, but Ruud van Nistelrooy obviously saw what a player he was. Then Ruben Amorim comes in. First he's a wing back, then he's in the 10. There's still a bit of debate going on. Where's his best role going to be? Where does he fit into Ruben Amorim's system? He can play at right wing back. He can play in the 10. Probably for me, you need him in that 10 right now because of the lack of goals. You look at Xerxes out for the season, I think. So that's probably academic, but he wasn't really scoring many goals, although he's entertaining to watch. Rasmus Hojlund's form and confidence seems to have deserted him. Then you look at the other players around him, who can score. Bruno Fernandes is always good for a goal. Garnacho, his record's not great this season, is it, in terms of goals? Kobe Mainoo scored a big goal, didn't he, against Lyon. He's capable of getting a goal, but he's certainly not prolific, and you don't even know whether he's going to play in the 10 or a little bit deeper. Mason Mount is just coming back from injury. He's not really been amongst the goals at all since he's been at Manchester United. So someone like Ahmed coming in, getting goals for Manchester United could be vital, and it could save our season. I don't want to be, melodramatic, but let's be honest about where we're at and what we need and what he offers. This is huge. Phil Berry says, I am effing buzzing about Ahmed. About Ahmad? I don't know why I said that. Ahmad. I am effing buzzing. I was trying to edit myself then. About Ahmad. Yep. Elvis Serum says, we lack goals, bro. Ahmed gonna bring goals back. Yep. I agree. Let's talk about Cunha, because this one has been doing the rounds for a little while now. It looks like it's going to happen. It does feel like it, doesn't it? It feels like it's moving forward. these deals can always change. Someone else could come in for him. It could, there could be a twist in the tail. We don't know, but everyone who's reporting on it seems to be indicating that Manchester United are moving forward with Matheus Cunha, and the player's happy with the deal. Wolves have got a buyout clause that Manchester United are willing to meet, so there shouldn't be any issues there. It does feel as though this is going to happen. See it here in the mirror. Manchester United are poised to make Wolves forward and Matheus Cunha their first summer signing with a deal for the Brazil star, now said to be in the final stages following talks between the club and the players' camp. We're in that final stages part, aren't we? It's going to be deal imminent, yeah? Is that the thumbnail next time we talk about Cunha? I mean, I'd be very surprised if this didn't happen now, because everyone we spoke to, all the reliable journalists, seem to think this is going to happen. So why wouldn't it? I mean, Manchester United obviously feel they've got the money there. Why pursue it if you haven't got 62.5 million quid? Because this isn't one where you're going to negotiate. That's his clause. You ain't going to get him for cheaper than that. You need to have 62.5 million quid to buy Matheus Cunha. So Manchester United must have the funds to do that. They must have worked out where you go, look, this is how we can make this deal work. This is where we can get the money from. I don't know where that money is going to come from, because last time we heard from Jim Ratcliffe, he kind of said we were skin. Yes, we can bring in some from player sales, but how guaranteed are those player sales? Is Jadon Sancho definitely 100% going to go to Chelsea? It's likely he will for 25 million quid, but can you say it unequivocally he will end up at Chelsea? No, because there's still this slight chance that Chelsea could pay a £5 million fine, if you can call it that, to return him to Old Trafford. Marcus Rashford looks like he'll go to Aston Villa or elsewhere for around 40 million quid. Is that guaranteed? Not really. It's likely, but not guaranteed. Same with Anthony at Real Betis. Again, is he going to go for maybe 20 million around that mark? Probably, because he's had a very good loan spell there, but it's not guaranteed. So you'd think Manchester United, without the sales, already have that money or have accounted for that money somehow. That's what I think anyway. Because I think if you're relying on those sales and all those sales don't materialise, Villa decide they don't want Marcus Rashford, he decides he don't want to go there. Chelsea decide they don't want Jadon Sancho, or Real Betis or anyone decides Anthony's not for them, then what are you going to do? If that's the money, that's the way you're going to get the money from Matheus Cunha. There has to be another option for Manchester United. Get involved in the chat and the comments. JB says, morning Jay, I'm a bit behind. Sorry, I'm here now though. Like the video, people. Right. Joe James John says, who is winning the fight behind Asda? We keep hearing about this fight with Joe Smith behind Asda. I don't know what is going on, right? I'm not the brightest spark, as everyone knows, but I'm proper confused by this. I am absolutely dumbfounded by this joke, I presume it's a joke, about Joe Smith fighting behind Asda. Anyway, it keeps going on and on and on. And listen, don't let his little hipster demeanour fool you. He can have a rumble, Joe Smith, yeah. 6'4", of pure power. Maurice Marshall says, Jay, do you feel that signing Cunha could be a King Eric-like signing in terms of the character coming to the club? I don't think it'd be that quite. I think I get your point, right? I know people are going, what you want about? He's nowhere near Eric Cantona. No one is anywhere near Eric Cantona when it comes to arriving at Manchester United Football Club. The aura that you bring, the swagger that you bring, the belief that you bring, the talisman nature, the talismanic, is that a word? Nature that he brought to this football club has never been surpassed in my lifetime. He took us from a club that hadn't won a title for a quarter of a century to winning a title. And he won a title every single season he was at Manchester United, apart from the one that they banned him for nothing. So I don't think anyone's ever going to match that. But I get your point about, does he bring that sort of character? I don't know with Cunha. I think he brings that sort of live wire character where he's got a bit of an edge to him that Eric had. And he's got that sort of, amazing ability. Is willing to get involved in a scrap if he needs to. I understand all that. A little bit, crazy, shall we say, which I like anyway. But the most important thing about Matheus Cunha is he brings you goals, he brings you assists, he brings you a threat, he brings you that confidence, he can carry the ball well. We need someone like that. We need someone who can get us off our seats at Old Trafford or wherever we're watching the game. And I think I feel he can do that. I honestly feel Matheus Cunha is that kind of player, and I think he's a player that you will love to see in a United shirt. That's what I was thinking. I've seen it, thought that ever since I've seen him, and I see it every time. I think every time I watch him, that I think there's a player that if he's at United, you'd be buzzing watching him. And also, it could give you some options. We need options. At the minute, Alejandro Garnacho is playing every week. He's been running to the ground. Ideally, he could do with a breather, but he doesn't get one because he's one of the few options we've got in one of those two number 10 roles. If you've got Cunha, if you've got Ahmad, if you've got Garnacho, if he doesn't move on, although there are reports and rumours that he might end up moving on. if you've got Kobe Mainoo, I think could play in the 10. If you've got Mason Mount who could play in the 10. If you've got Bruno Fernandes who could play in the 10. And all of a sudden, you've got options there, haven't you? Joshua Zirkzee can play in the 10. You look at it, you go, okay, the manager could actually rotate it. The manager could actually, if someone's not playing very well, I don't know, rest them. Or if they're knackered, give them a breather. We don't have that at the minute. It's just like we're so limited with the amount of options we've got. Players are getting run into the ground. But if you bring in someone like Cunha, then all of a sudden things are looking a little bit better, especially if you get Ahmad back fit. If Kobe Mainoo stays fit, I think he can play in one of those 10 roles. If Mason Mount starts showing us a little bit of why we bought him from Chelsea, he could be a good option for Manchester United. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. BMW Racing 1974 says, never thought Joe was a violent person. You don't know. Thomas Toke Engine says, Giggsy on Rio's pod today. Get him in the Hall of Fame. I've spoken about this a few times. Giggsy on Rio's Ferdinand pod. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? I think, if we're being brutally honest, I know I like to be brutally honest, as people mention that quite a lot. It's a moral judgment, isn't it? Because the court case he had, and for me, if he's won 13 Premier League titles, he was going to be in the Hall of Fame. And they said, right, we're not going to put you in the Hall of Fame. They've made a decision, a moral decision. They feel like they can't put him in for moral reasons. Now, I know I think it was the case was dropped, so they didn't go to the second trial. However, whatever the wording is, I'm not sure. I would tell how you worded it. It wasn't convincing of anything, but there's obviously they've made it the decision based on that. Now, if you want to do that, right, okay. But then John Terry, who was banned for 4 games, was it, for racially abusing someone who shouted effing black, you know what, at a fellow professional, he's in there. I don't know. I don't know where's the moral judgment's coming from here. What's the standard? It just seems a bit inconsistent, is what I'll say. So that's my thoughts on the Premier League Hall of Fame. I also think the Premier League Hall of Fame is a load of nonsense, to be honest with you. I think it's farce. I think it is, honestly, some of the players that are in there and some of the players that weren't. I know they're trying to sort of make up for it now when you're getting more and more players in there. But honestly, some of the decisions they made initially, I just thought were ridiculous. And it doesn't matter, really and truly. Who gives a toss? I mean, you've got people like John Terry turning up with all his medals around his neck like a proper whopper. Bore off. Let's talk about Kobe Mainoo. This is in Football Insider. I think this is from Mick Brown, who is the former Manchester United scout. And he says, United remain keen to keep Kobe Mainoo at the club beyond the summer transfer window. All the indications we've had are that Kobe Mainoo wants to stay at Manchester United and Kobe Mainoo will stay at Manchester United. There was some rumours earlier, weren't there, that he wanted 200k a week or something and that he wasn't going to sign a new deal. And the club could look to move him on. Now, the journalists I've spoken to, reliable journalists as well, a lot of them are saying that's not the case. Kobe Mainoo wants to stay at Manchester United and Manchester United wants to keep Kobe Mainoo. We have to keep him, right? It would be insane to let him go. And I know some people look at it and go, but Jay, he's a saleable asset, PSR, he's from the academy, it's all profit. We can go and buy another player worth double that amount that we get and all the rest of it. Kobe Mainoo is an amazing talent. We are lucky to have him. Don't let this injury sort of ravaged season he's had confuse you. This is a kid who came in to the team at, 18? What, player of the match in his first game at Goodison, was it? His first Premier League start? Player of the match in the FA Cup final, scored the decisive goal. Do I have to remind you of these things? Do I have to remind you of the fact that this season would be over? This season would be over if it wasn't for Kobe Mainoo's goal against Lyon? Really? Does anyone really believe we'd be better off without Kobe Mainoo? Because I fucking don't. Keep him. He wants to stay. He's a talent. We're lucky to have him. Get that deal done. Hopefully it will be done this summer and we can all move on. Chris Griffith says, Asda is more Tory. The Q77 says, yes, Jay lad, big up yourself, brother. Thank you. Phobos Taco Man says, butter, hashtag butter him up. Mahad says, Garnacho can leave, Mainoo cannot. Santa Not says, we already have 4 players leaving, another 4 possibly leaving. We're going to buy 9 players if we sell Mainoo. Exactly, man. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? In any way, shape or form. Let's talk about Wayne Rooney on the overlap. Wayne Rooney was, I watched this earlier, Adam McCall was there for Manchester United, doing great work as well for Manchester United, for Stretford Paddock, representing Manchester United and Stretford Paddock and obviously his other channel of the club. But great stuff from Adam McCall as well, because at one point they were talking about Eric not doing it in Europe, and Adam McCall pointed out that when Eric was playing for Manchester United in Europe, there was a 3 foreigner rule, which absolutely scuppered Manchester United more, or English clubs a lot more than others, because then you had Irish players that had been in England for almost their entire career, who were suddenly classed as foreigners because they weren't English, didn't play for England. That was a rule that they got rid of, UEFA, and obviously they had to because it was just ludicrous. But the point that was being made here is I think the City fan was sort of trolling Rooney, saying about the 2012 goal from Sergio Aguero, and Rooney was pointing out that maybe that game should be looked into. If you look at what happened in that goal, I think Joey Barton got himself sent off, an ex-City player, Neda Manua. I think he was on Filthy Fellas and he spoke about how he didn't want to waste time when QPR were winning because he felt, City was a club he'd been at since he was a kid. What's that about? And then if you look at some of the throw-ins they did as well, and they just sort of gave the ball back to Manchester City, QPR, it was very strange. Paddy Kenny's almost bragged about it, and he as well, about conceding those goals. Then you had QPR fans celebrating Aguero's winner. I'm with Wazza. Get it looked into. I think Jamie Carragher made the joke about it should be 116 charges instead of 115. I completely agree. Let's talk about Hojlund and Lookman swap deals. This feels like, I spoke about yesterday, Al, you have that saying, don't you, of all the things that didn't happen, this didn't happen the most. Is this one of those, of all the things that isn't going to happen, this isn't going to happen the most? The headline here from the Mirror, Rasmus Hojlund could be set for a stunning return to Atalanta as United consider offering the forward in a swap deal for Ademola Lookman. Lookman, who was at Everton, wasn't he? A few years ago. I remember him scoring. Remember when Everton beat City 4-0, didn't he score one of the goals then? So, if memory serves. Did, okay. Ended up at Leipzig, was at Leicester, was at Fulham, went to Atalanta, and then sort of started doing bits, didn't he? Started doing quite well. He's done well this season. I think 18 goals in 36 games in all competitions. Last season it was 17 in 45. Season before in 15 in 33. So he's moving in the right direction. How old is he? He's 27. So he's not a kid, but he's not past it by any stretch of the imagination. Should United be in for Ademola Lookman? Get involved in the chat in the comments. I'm not so sure. I think he's all right, and I think he's done well in Italy. I don't know if he'd come back to the Premier League and smash it. I understand why Rasmus Hojlund might end up being surplus to requirements if he can't turn it around because his form has deserted him. But does this swap deal work? Does it happen? Swap deals are notoriously difficult to get done. You've got two players who usually are on different wages, different stages in the career, have different value. They're very, very rare swap deals. They are. They almost never happen. I think you have to go back. One of the main ones I can think of is obviously the Henrik Mkhitaryan and Alexis Sanchez one. And I think there was a lot of sort of payments involved as well. It wasn't just a swap deal, as in you give us that player and we'll give you that one. I think the wages and everything was different. But Manchester United and Arsenal managed to make it work, and it suited us both because Sanchez wanted to leave Arsenal in that January transfer window. Arsenal wanted a player to come in, and it made sense to do it that way. I don't know about this one. I don't feel it will happen. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Do you see it happening? Do you think it should happen? Is that something you'd be up for? Rahil Amin said he didn't do it at Everton, sorry. CTB says, not a clue who that guy is, and I don't watch any Serie A. But our signings under Ineos have been solid thus far. The haven't. Is weird, actually, because you look at it and you think United's transfer policy over the last few years has been pretty shambolic, but I think the signings we made in the summer under Ineos were good signings. And I think the signings we made in January in Dorgu and Aid in Heaven were good signings. And as well, they were at a price where even if they don't quite work out, it's not the end of the world. What did we pay for Aid in Heaven? About £1 million. I think Dorgu was about, was it 20 million-ish? So that's not too shabby, to be honest with you. And it's certainly better than we have been doing over the last few years. So maybe Ineos have a bit more of a clue when it comes to transfers. Chris Griffith says, not for me, Jay. Any Murtagh dealing can get in the bin file. Great point, Chris. Great point. John Murtagh's gone to Atalanta. They probably gave him a warm welcome considering the deal he did for Rasmus Hojlund. Not having a dig at Rasmus Hojlund, but we obviously overpaid for him. So he's gone to Atalanta. I think he's the head of their development or whatever his title is. I can't remember. Dealing with him, yeah, I'd just rather John Murtagh had nothing to do with Manchester United in any way, shape or form. Let's carry on in the Atalanta vein though. Let's talk about Edison. This is the midfielder. Been linked with him. Story here in ESPN, you can see it there on the screen. Manchester United are keen on signing Atalanta midfielder Edison, while striker Rasmus Hojlund is attracting interest from Juve as a potential Dusan Vlahovic replacement. I think if you scroll down, there might be a little bit more nuts and bolts to it. Talks are ongoing between United and Atalanta regarding a summer move for midfielder Edison. Reports Fabrizio Romano. Oh, he's actually doing his own work this time instead of relying on mine. Nice of him. It says here, the Red Devils are keen to strengthen their midfield in the next transfer window amid uncertainty over the future of Casemiro, and they see the 25-year-old as their dream option to instantly upgrade manager Ruben Amorim's squad. Securing a deal for the 25-year-old Brazil international is expected to be difficult, with multiple clubs, including Manchester City, also linked. So that's a problem, innit? If you're going to have to get into a bidding war with the likes of Manchester City, can United afford to do that? Probably not. I don't know what Edison's value is going to be. I think it'd be around the £50 million mark-ish. I mean, you can probably go 10 million quid either way on that one. Around that mark. Have United got that, plus the Mateus Cunha money? I'm not so sure. That deal might rely on sales. We might have to sell a few players to get Edison in. It would make sense to me to bring in another defensive midfielder. I know we've got Manuel Ugarte. I know we've got Casemiro. We don't know what Casemiro's future is going to look like, though. He has been playing very well over the last few weeks, to be fair to him. Ugarte, been a little bit up and down, but more up, I think, than down this season. Also, it's his first season. I think it's safe to say we could probably do with seeing a little bit more next season, but there's a lot there in that player to like in there. I do like Manuel Ugarte, personally. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think. Maurice Marshall says Edison won't go to City. He wants to play in the Premier League, not the Championship. What's happening with these charges, by the way? It's dragging on, innit? Chris Griffey says, bring in Chris Rigg, lol. Mahad says Edison is much better on the ball. I've heard a few people say that. Remo Carlin says, hey Jay, I'm 9th in the Paddock Fantasy League. What plays are you? I'm right near the bottom of me, bro. I need to update my team desperately. Thanks for the reminder. Rami Helmi says, if Cunha is our big signing up front, I don't mind another big signing for midfield if it's a good fit, as reported. Yeah, you want to see us bring in some quality, and Edison certainly looks like he does have quality. Let's have a name that I'm not going to be able to pronounce. What's this one? Manchester United have approached... So I love that. Approached in inverted commas straight away. So that already makes you think that this isn't happening. River Plate over a deal to sign highly rated teenage wonder kid Franco Mastantuono. I think that's how you pronounce it. I might be wrong. But face a battle with Arsenal and Chelsea as per Eduardo Burgos. So United are meant to be looking in the South American market more. Obviously, bringing in Diego Leon from Paraguay. He should come in the summer. I think the feeling with Leon is he's going to come in. He's a left wing back. We're going to see what he's about, see how ready he is. He's only 17, I think, the lad. If he can do bits, he might go in pre-season. You see, okay, can he come into the first team squad? Or, you know, is he going to be a fringe player? Or, you know, how ready is he for the first team itself? If not, maybe he goes back to Paraguay. Or maybe you loan him out to a club in the Premier League or in Europe, get him used to European football. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this is another kid we're looking at as well. Plus, we've got an update here, I think, on Patrick Dorgu. So this is a quote. These are some quotes from Patrick Dorgu. He's given an interview. This is from the official Manchester United website. That is obviously United Review is the programme, as it says there. It's a very fast league, he says, Patrick Dorgu. It's a very physical league. So I think, yeah, this was my game. I just need to get many more games in the Premier League to get used to the tempo. I think I can get there, becoming a modern wing-back, but I still have lots of things to improve in my game. But definitely, I can be and I can get there. I think it's a very attack-minded position. I think I just need to improve my decision-making, to think fast on the pitch and to connect better with my teammates. I really like to get forward and help the team score goals. And I just need to, like I said, improve on my decision-making. But it will come. I'm impressed with that, you know. I'm impressed. Leave that up, leave the call. I'll get to some more. Because he's quite self-critical there, isn't he? About his decision-making, about how he wants to improve on it, and he feels like he will. Obviously an intelligent lad. I don't mind when players do that. I don't mind when players just say, look, you know what, there's areas of my game I need to get better at. You'd want a player who's got confidence, who believes they should be wearing a Manchester United shirt. I think too often in the past, we've had players who get at Old Trafford and like, crikey, I can't believe I'm here, I've won the lottery. So you want them to have a little bit of confidence, a little bit of swagger, but also to be conscious when they can improve and how they can improve in their game. And it certainly seems like Patrick Dorgu is willing and able to do that. He also says about the pressure at United, I think the pressure is big at every club, but especially at United. I think, again, that's a fair comment. I think the pressure is high because the expectation is so high, but being calm on the pitch helps every player to improve and develop. Obviously, you know when you come in during a season like this, there was the pressure with the expectation of the fans for the new players. It will be higher for us to help the team as much as possible. I knew that from the start. Again, he's speaking a lot of sense. I like Patrick Dorgu. I can see why we brought him in. He's obviously done quite well since he's come in. He's not been all sunshine and rainbows, has it? I mean, he had a sending off, was it, against Ipswich, I think, which didn't, no one wants to see a player get sent off. Obviously, there was the mix-up as well, I think, with the goalkeeper for the goal. Depends who you're going to blame for that one, though. I think more people are blaming Andre Onana than blaming Patrick Dorgu for that one. But you can understand why Ruben Amorim wanted him, why the club looks at him as someone that fits into Ruben Amorim's system. He's he's a sort of your typical wing back, innit? He can get up and down that wing, can go forward very well, can put in a cross. He has played on the right. He's a left-footed player, but he has been used on the right. I think he made his debut on the right as an almost inverted wing back, but he can also play on the left. I prefer him on the left, whipping them balls in. But we know that Ruben Amorim does like a left-footed player as right wing back. I think Giovanni Kenda is left-footed, but played at right wing back for Sporting. I think producer Ben there's giving me the nod. Is that all? Yep. So he's done this before, Ruben Amorim. So you look at Patrick Dorgu and you think, okay, maybe he ends up playing as a right wing back, and maybe you have, I don't know, who you put on the left. Maybe do you look at someone like Harry Hamas? What's the future hold for him? Is he going to be in the first team? I mean, one thing we know about Ruben Amorim is he will give players opportunity regardless of their age. I've been impressed with Harry Hamas. We'll have to wait and see what happens with him past this season, or past is he going to get more game time next season? Is he going to be a big part of the first team picture? It'll be interesting to see. Also in the wing back position, I mentioned him earlier, Ahmad, who, if you were watching from the start, is going to be expected to be back in training soon, first team training. Is he going to be used as a wing back? We'll have to wait and see, because Manchester United probably could do with bringing in another wing back. But if you're looking at, we're going to get Matheus Cunha, we're going to get Liam Delap, which all the smart money seems to indicate we will. We're now being linked with Edison as well. There's still question marks on what's going to happen with the goalkeeper. Is Ruben Amorim 100% set that Andre Onana is going to be his goalkeeper next season? I mean, we don't know. There's rumours and reports that maybe he could go somewhere. Maybe he's going to stick with him. Maybe even makes a decision at the end of the season based on how Andre Onana has done and whether Manchester United have had a successful season in terms of lifting the Europa League, and Onana's played a part in that. So there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes with so many positions as well. But for this system, you definitely need wing-backs. You need wing-backs like Patrick Dorgu. And I've been impressed with him. It's not easy coming into this Manchester United side. Very dysfunctional, very up and down. He's come in, and straight away I think he's done well. And he's only a young lad as well, and he's a young lad coming into the Premier League. It can take a little while to get going. We've seen very, very talented fullbacks, very talented wingers take a little while to get going. But I think Patrick Dorgu came in, showed what he's about, exciting. I like seeing him in that Manchester United team, and I think he gives us a good option. Whether it is on the right or the left, I prefer him on the left personally, but you may differ. Then I think he's been a very good signing, and those are the kind of signings Manchester United need to make. A player like that who cost, what was it, around 20 million quid, coming into the side. It's one of those where you want him to work out, you want him to do well, but he's young, and if it doesn't quite work out the way you wanted him, then you can move him on, still get your money back, and you haven't spent a fortune on him. He was speaking in that interview, Patrick Dorgu, about the pressure at Manchester United. Pressure gets added when you've got huge transfer fees as well. That doesn't help. So when you've got players in who are quite young and they've come in and they've cost loads of money, it's backfired so many times at Manchester United, hasn't it? But if you've got players that come in, it doesn't add too much pressure to them if they've only cost around 20 million quid. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Hit that like button, people. Chris Griffith says he's no Dennis Irwin. No, but who is? Adwan1 says, don't forget Diego Leon. A good point. I was talking about him earlier. He'll be an option as well. Perhaps. Wurzel Danier says Amas should start Sunday. Maybe he will. Chris Griffey says, what's happened to Collier? Yeah, I've not seen Toby Collier in the first team. Hopefully, we can get a bit more clarity on some of these injury newses or injury updates later on today. I think we will have a press conference from the manager. I'd expect one ahead of the game this weekend. Is it Bournemouth this weekend? So when we do have the press conference, we'll have all the updates as well. We're going to be previewing that game later on as well. Plus, don't forget, we're going to have The Brew, me, Steve, and a special guest, the Housewife's favourite, will be coming back on the channel. So make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jay Motte. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.